A camel driver was crossing the vast desert in Rajasthan on his camel. The camel had been walking for a full 2 days. It was now tired and thirsty. At last they came to a small oasis. The driver brought his camel to a halt in a place where a caravan had been stopped the night before. There were still some burning embers of the fire that had been lit here. So while the camel drank at oasis, the driver poked at embers and got the fire ablaze once more. He used his sharp knife to cut down some of the branches of the tree. He stacked these onto the fire. It was soon roaring. The driver ate some bread and fed his camel. After this, he settled down for the night beside the fire. The camel was tied close by. In the middle of the night, a breeze started up. The wind became furious. It stirred the flames of the fire. Sparks flew into the air, and very soon the dry bushes round the oasis caught fire. The flames leaped into the sky, and the fire crackled. The driver woke up just in time, when his camel started to make a loud noise. He hastily untied it, picked up what he could of his belongings, and ran to stand in the desert, well clear of burning bushes. He didn't have time to collect his knife. The driver stood in the sand and watched the blaze. When the flames died down, he returned to find his knife. As he looked amongst the burning bushes, he came across a coiled snake, trapped in a circle of the fire. The snake was in great fear of losing his life. When he saw the camel driver, he immediately uncoiled himself. "Help me, please," cried the snake. The driver stood and stared at the snake. He remembered that snakes are poisonous. Perhaps the snake would harm him. But then he decided he couldn't bear to see any living creature in suffer. He took a large cloth bag from under the saddle of his camel. He tied this to the end of the long piece of the wood and held it over the flames to the snake. The adder slid inside the bag, and the driver drew the stake back safely. "You are safe now," said the camel driver, loosing the neck of the bag and letting the snake slide out. "Go your way, but remember my kindness. Don't ever be unkind to men in future." "Thank you, kind sir," said the snake. "You have done what you had to do. However, I am a snake, and I shall not go away until I have stung both you and your. That is what I have to do. It is my custom, so I want you to tell me this. Should I sting you first or your camel?" "Ungrateful! What a wretch!" cried the shocked driver. "Is it right to return evil for good? That is what men do. It is their custom," said the snake. "You are not only ungrateful but untruthful as well," said the camel driver. "There is no other creature in the world who will agree with you. If you can find one, I will allow you to sting me." "Fine," replied the snake. "Let's ask that cow over there." A cow was ambling slowly towards the oasis. When she came closer, the snake asked, "Is it the custom of men to return evil for good?" The cow was busy chewing, but stopped when she heard the snake's question. "I am sorry to say," replied the cow, "that man doesn't repay evil for good. I was the faithful servant of a farmer for many years. Every day I gave him milk and delicious cream of his butter. Then when I became too old, he let me wander about in the pasture to get fat. One day he brought a butcher to see me. He was going to sell me. Surely this is the repaying of my kindness with evil. See, hissed the snake at the camel driver. What I told you is true. Now get ready for me to sting you. Who will be first, you or the camel? Wait, cried the driver. You have asked only one witness. In a court, a judge usually calls two or more witnesses. You will have to ask someone else. If that person agrees with the cow, then you may do as you please. There was no one, but just then a tall palm tree nearby made a noise. "Aha!" said the snake. "Since there is no one to ask, perhaps this palm tree can tell us." "I have already heard your question," said the palm tree. "I have been listening." The palm tree rustled its branches and with a creaking sound bent backwards. "I have been here a long time," said the palm tree sadly, "and I must agree with the cow. I am sorry to say that men behave very badly. For every favor you do to men, you must expect some injury in return." "How is that?" asked the camel driver. "Well, it's like this," explained the tree. "I have stood here for years. I have done no harm to anyone. I have gone good. Travelers have come and gone. They have rested beneath my shade. Some have climbed into my branches and plucked my dates. They are to be eaten, so I haven't minded that. Those who have been thirsty have tasted my sap. I don't mind that either." "Then what are you complaining about?" asked the camel driver. "Look at my branches," cried the palm tree. "When a traveler has eaten and slept beneath my shade, he looks at my branches, sees the wood, takes his axe and chops me to pieces." The camel driver looked at the gushes in the tree. The snake simply smiled. "They have taken my wood to make handles of their axes and to build roofs for their houses," exclaimed the palm tree. "This is the way men return my kindness." "Enough," said the snake. "You have agreed with what the cow told us." The snake fixed the camel driver with a glassy stare. The driver was now looking a little worried, and a shiver went through his body. "We have heard two witnesses," said the camel, "and they both agree. So come now, tell me, whom shall I bite first, you or the camel?" The camel driver began to sweat. He whipped his wrinkled brow and looked around as if trying to find some way out of the trouble he was in. At that moment a fox ran by, and the camel driver held up his hand to stop him. "Let's hear just one more witness," the camel driver begged the snake. "Let's ask this fox what he thinks." The snake was so pleased with what the cow and the tree had said. He happily agreed to listen to the fox. The camel driver told the fox the whole story. When the fox heard it, he began to laugh. "Why are you laughing?" asked the puzzled driver. "Well," replied the fox, "you seem to be a clever fellow. But why do you tell me such a lie?" "Lie? Me? What lie?" spluttered the camel driver. "He has told you the truth," agreed the snake. The fox laughed at the snake. "I just don't believe it," he cried. "You are such a large snake. How could you happily get into such a small bag?" I did," exclaimed the snake. "If you do not believe it, I will slide in again and show you." Seeing is believing, said the fox. If you can fit into that small bag, show me. If I see it with my own eyes, perhaps I will believe this man's story. Then I can give you my answer. The camel driver held the bag open and the snake crawled in. Be quick, cried the fox. Draw the string tight. And that is exactly what the camel driver did. The snake was trapped inside the bag, and he was safe at last. You saved the snake from the fire, continued the fox. But the snake didn't thank you for what you did. This snake doesn't deserve to go free. Now, you stupid man, put this bag into the fire again. The snake was thrown into the roaring fire. And finally, the man get rid of a poisonous snake. This was the end of the story.